Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be reviewing a brand new foundation, and this is a foundation from the drugstore. This is the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. Now I purchased my bottle for $8.97 at Walmart, but I will also have a link down below where you guys can check out this foundation too. So on Milani's website, this foundation retails for $9.99, and they do have a full range of 14 shades. Like I said, at Walmart, it was only $8.97, but they didn't have 14 shades. It didn't go very fair. I noticed that they didn't have super light shades, so if you're on the fair side, you might not be able to find a shade that works for you, and it didn't go super deep either. So it had a good middle range, had a lot of the more neutral, probably more popular light to medium shades, but it doesn't go super fair or super deep. So if you have a hard time finding foundation shades for you, I would probably check out the website opposed to in-store. So this is what the packaging looks like. I love the packaging. I think this is so sleek and so beautiful, and it's really pretty as far as drugstore packaging goes. I love the black and the gold, and I think Milani always does a good job with their packaging. So as you can see, it's a concealing and a foundation in one, so it is kind of a double whammy product, and it is supposed to be more coverage. So the claims say that it is a medium to full coverage foundation. It's lightweight and oil-free formula. It's long-wearing, water-resistant, and sweat-proof. And I love long-wearing products. That's so up my alley. Every time I do a client's makeup, I'm like, I'm using this because it's full coverage. I'm using this because it's long-wearing. This will last forever. Use this to make your makeup last longer, because who wants to waste their time doing their makeup if it's just going to slough off at the end of the day? So this foundation is the standard size of 1 fluid ounce, and my favorite part is it has a pump. I love when foundations have pumps, especially from the drugstore, and it's not a very good quality pump, I will tell you. It's a little squeaky, it's a little stiff, but it does have a pump, which makes me very happy. So I've been wearing this foundation for a little over a week now, and I've been really enjoying it. So I want to give you guys a quick demo on how this foundation applies to my skin. So I'm starting off with a dense foundation brush. If you're going for full coverage, I always recommend using a bigger, stiff, more dense brush, such as the Morphe M439. I love the way that this packs on product and helps you blend it out across the skin. I'm in the shade Light Beige, which is the 3rd shade in the collection. This is a pretty olive tone, and it's quite a bit darker than my natural skin color, but I find that this color matches my self-tan really nicely. I noticed that this product comes very olive toned. It's very yellow based. So if you are more on the pink side, you may have a hard time finding a foundation that works for you. But if you're on the olive side, this is going to be a great line. This foundation is quite thick in consistency. It is pretty tacky. And as you start applying it to the skin, you will see that it's a little bit trickier to blend out on the surface. But as you get it going and as it warms up on your skin, it works really nicely. I start off with 1 pump of foundation, which gives me a medium coverage, and you can see that I have a little bit of my skin still showing through. You can see a little bit of my freckles, a couple little discolorations throughout my skin, but it does give a really solid medium coverage. Next, I'm going in and pumping on more foundation, and I'm really buffing this onto the skin. As you can see, I do these pressing motions with my product, and it's really putting it into the skin. That way, it's going to enhance the pigmentation. Whenever you press products and add it on top of the surface, it's going to give you more coverage, and I find that this product builds up beautifully. It gives such good coverage, and it has a beautiful full coverage finish. I really enjoy that this has more of a satin finish opposed to something that's super matte, because it looks more natural, but you get the best possible coverage. So I do have this foundation on right now, and I have been testing it out for the past week, and I love it. I think it has a beautiful coverage to it, and I really love the finish. The finish is more of a satin texture. It has a little bit of reflection off of it, which makes it look more like skin, but it's not super matte, it's not super luminous. It's kind of just right there in the middle. If you like a more matte finish, or if you're more oily, I would definitely recommend setting this with powder, but me being a dry person, I don't feel the need to set it, and it still lasts all day long. At about 8 hours, I notice that I have a little bit of breakup around my nose, or just in the areas where I may be getting a little oily or sweaty, and I feel like I need to touch up a little bit. But that's after 8 hours. And then even after that, I honestly think this foundation wears up to about 12 to 15 hours easily. You still get that full coverage look. You can tell it's starting to fade at about 12 hours, 13 hours, but you can still get away with wearing it. And that is a very long time. Most people are not wearing their foundation for 12 to 15 hours, but the fact that this will last that long is awesome. If you're doing something that you know is gonna be an all day long event, you're not gonna be able to touch up your makeup, I think this would be perfect. And those of you who are oily, you know the issues with your makeup breaking down. So having long wearing foundation would be great for you. That way you don't have to be as worried about touching up and keeping an eye on it throughout the day. So this foundation is a thicker consistency. You will see that this is a pretty thick, like kind of clay concealer-like texture. It is quite thick, which means you can get a lot of coverage out of it, and a little goes a long way. If you don't like thicker, heavier foundations, I still think you can get away with using this product. I would just mix in a little bit of your primer or a little bit of some sort of oil or mixing medium like argan oil, and that will really thin out the product, and you can still get good coverage out of it. It'll still maintain the formula and longevity, but that way it's a little easier to work with. It'll have a little bit more spreadability to it if you're freaked out by the texture of this. But I will tell you guys, even though this is a thicker consistency full coverage foundation, it's still really lightweight. I don't feel like I have a lot of product on my skin, and it's not, you know, tacky feeling. It doesn't add texture to the skin. It doesn't feel like a gross, heavy, cakey foundation. I would say that the Cover FX cream foundation's heavier than this. I think that the Kat Von D Tattoo Lock-It foundation is quite a bit heavier than this. So if you're wanting full coverage, but you don't want something that's gonna be too heavy on your skin, I think this would be a really good way to go. I think this foundation is very comparable to another popular drugstore foundation, and that is the CoverGirl Outlast 3-in-1 foundation. And they do have similar claims. They're both supposed to be a 2-in-1, 3-in-1, supposed to give you a lot of coverage and be multifunctional. And they're both supposed to have an all-day coverage. So I do think that these have a very similar kind of concept to them. If you like this one, I think you'll like this one too. However, this one's a little bit more of a matte finish. I'd say this is about a demi-matte, and I think this one has more shine control in it. So if you're more on the oily side, you might like this one better, but I think this one looks a little bit more natural on, and I think this would definitely be better for those of you who are more on the dry side. So maybe more normal to oily or more normal to dry. But either way, I think you can get away with using either of these foundations no matter what your skin type is. And if I had to choose one, I think I'd choose the Milani one. And the CoverGirl one's been one of my favorites for quite some time. I've always liked this foundation, and I'm a full coverage girl, so having a good full coverage drugstore foundation is nice to me. But even though I love this one, I really think this is gonna replace it because it's super long wearing, it has great coverage, but I think it looks a little bit more natural on the skin, and I like the more satin finish that this one has. If you're not a full coverage person, you don't need super full coverage, you just want something that's a good medium and is super long wearing, I still think you'd love this. I would just try adding a mixing medium to it or using a beauty blender opposed to using a brush. Whenever you use a more dense brush, the more dense the brush, the more coverage you're gonna get out of something. Okay, so I really think that the Milani foundation is gonna be one of my new favorite drugstore foundations. Leave me your thoughts down below. I wanna know if you guys have tried out the Milani foundation yet and what you guys think of it. And thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Check me out on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you guys later. Mwah!